Welcome to the study of Sotah, page 46, Daf Mem Vav Amud Aleph. And we're now going to begin the learning in the Gemara and the Mishnah that we just had finished, talking about the Egla Arufa, the calf that was brought when a person was found dead between two cities, and they measured, then they had to bring the calf. So the Gemara says, we said that a calf, if it has a mum, it can't have a yoke or work. But it can have a mum, it can have a blemish. So why don't we say it can't have a blemish? And we learn it from a kal v'chomer, from the paraduma, just like the paraduma, that years don't make a difference in it. It doesn't make a difference the age. It could be any age, and it's good for the red heifer. But yet, if it has a blemish, it's not good. So egla rufa, that has to be only in the first year. So shouldn't it be the law that there for sure a blemish will also make it not valid? So Gemara says it's different. No, we can't say that, because by paraduma, by the red heifer, it says Hashem Bamum doesn't have a blemish in it. That there a blemish makes a difference, but not by egla. So if so, none of the other types of service should either be puzzled by a paraduma. We should say only a mum is a problem. How can we see that by paraduma, if you put a bag of sacks, it's puzzle of the egla and the egla rufa, you have to at least have pulled it. It's not enough just putting it on. So he says, paraduma is different, because we learn oil from egla rufa, the same word, that it can't have done any work. So therefore, let's learn oil from paraduma and say the same law would exist by the egla. So he says, it says ba. So only for mum, only there. Only by paraduma. It says ba by egla rufa as well. So that's coming to teach us that kachim, that things that belong to the holy temple, that if it did any work, it doesn't make it prohibited. So I would think, let's learn from egla, just like an egla, that mum, if it has a blemish, doesn't make it prohibited. And but yet, if any type of work happened, if it did any type of work, it's not good. So kachim, things that are holy already, that if it has a blemish, it can't be used in anything you have to. It can't be used by the Beis Hamikdash. Shouldn't it be there the same thing, that if it did work, it would be puzzle? So therefore, we learn from egla rufa. So you can ask a question: how can you learn from egla rufa? Egla has years. It has to be a certain age, and by kachim doesn't make a difference the age. So therefore, it doesn't follow along in the same path totally. So we said that, and by kachim, by holy things, we don't find that there are things that have an age. A carbon pesach has an age. There's several things that have an age. Chatas has an age. It has to be a certain amount of years. So therefore, we cannot learn. We cannot derive anything from it. So why do you need a verse of bas? It tells us that by kachim, that the years, it has to be a certain age, that there it's possible. Now, kachim, things that are holy, that the avodah does not make it possible. We said if it does any work, it doesn't make it invalid to be used in the Beis Hamikdash. We learned it from somewhere else. We learned it from a verse that says that if it has any type of mum, if it has any type of blemish, you're not allowed to bring it to Hashem. These you're not allowed to bring to Hashem, but if it did work, because there's several things. There's a blemish issue. Then there's an issue if it carried a yoke, it did any work. So we learned from there that only specifically blemishes, but if it did work, it's not a problem. So we would think that's only talking about if it did work, it's not a problem to be used in Beis Hamikdash. If it did work, that's permissible. What if it did work that's forbidden? A work that's forbidden, let's say maybe kalayim or something else that's forbidden. We would think that there maybe it wouldn't be good. So therefore, we need a verse to tell us that there it's also good. That only by egla, if it did work, it's not good, but by kachim, it's fine. But we have another place where we learn, which says if you take from a non-Jew, you're not allowed to bring their sacrifices, these type of sacrifices, that you're not allowed to bring a sacrifice that has a blemish, but you're allowed to bring a sacrifice that had the work was done with it. So he says we need it, because we would think that's only when work was done with it while it was, before it became sanctified and holy. But if work was done with it before it became sanctified and holy, then it's a problem. So therefore we need the verse to tell us that avodah is not a problem. So nothing more brings the issue itself. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rab, if you put on it a bag of sacks, a bunch of sacks, it's puzzle, it's not good for the para aduma and for egla rufa until you actually pull it. It's not enough that you put it on there, you have to actually have pulled it. So we ask a question. It says oil, oil, that didn't have any yoke by the para aduma. How do we know that any other types of service work that the para aduma did besides carrying a yoke, it's not good? So we said we'll have a kal v'chomer. Just like the egla rufa, that doesn't have a blemish, doesn't make it invalid. But all types of work is invalid. So para, the red heifer, that a blemish makes it invalid. So for sure, any type of work will make it invalid. If you're going to question and say, question this, so therefore we have also Gzeira Shabbat says oil, and oil, just like by the egla, all the types of work it makes it invalid. So too by para aduma, it makes it invalid. So the Gemara asks the question, what would you question on saying that you have to bring another proof that it's Gzeira Shabbat? So he says we would question that just like an egla, that years, that has to be a certain age, under a certain age, or else it can't be used for the egla rufa. So therefore I would say, then kachim, which doesn't have necessarily an age, also will teach us that a mum makes it possible, but not any type of work. So therefore it says oil. So therefore it says oil. That even if you can't learn from egla rufa, it says oil, and just like from there we would learn that all the other types of service as well. So now the question is, the Gemara says the question. So now that you mentioned this, we can say maybe it'll be like egla rufa. If the whole strength of learning that the avodah, they carry the yoke is like from egla rufa, just like egla rufa, you have to have pulled it. It's not enough you just put it on the animal. You have to have pulled it. Why don't we say about paraduma? You have to have pulled it. So Gemara says it's an argument of Tanoim. Some bring it learn from egla, and some learn it from the verses in the paraduma itself, because it says oil, and I know only a yoke. How do we know anything else that you put on it, like a sack? These sacks that you put on it that will make it like work. So it teaches us nothing went on it besides the word oil. So it means anything that goes on it. So why do we have to have the word oil? Because oil, a yoke, if you put on the animal a yoke, both if you made it work, you didn't make it work, the fact that you put it on it, it already invalidates it. But all types of other work only invalidates it when it's doing the work, not when you just put it on. But now the Gemara says, why don't we just learn from read the Torah in another way? We interpret the Torah by klal prat, when there's a general and then a detail. We go after the detail. So it says that the nothing was on her is a general. Oil is a yoke is a detail. So maybe only for a yoke you are it invalidates the paraduma, but everything else it doesn't invalidate it. So he says asher. The word asher is ribuya, adds something more and adds back everything else. We also learned by Agra the same type of concept that says oil. We know that yoke. How do you know that any other types of work by the egla rufa makes it invalid? So it says that nothing was worked in it. So the fact that it says asher loy ubad ba, so it means that no types of work was done. Why does it have to say the word oil? Because oil, the yoke makes it invalid both if you work with it or not. The fact they put on a yoke, it already makes it as if you worked with it. But all types of work, it's only when you do any work. Why don't you say the same thing? Asher loy ubad ba is a general statement. Oil is a detail, and you only include the detail. So he says, because it says asher, that includes everything else that we missed out. Ravo said, he asked from Rabbi Yochanan, when it says that by egla you have to pull it, how far you have to pull it? So he says you have to pull the length of an oil, of the actual yoke. So what do you mean the yoke? What size of the yoke? The width of the yoke or the length of the yoke? So it's brought down that Rabbi Yochanan said that the width of the yoke, which is about a tefach. So why doesn't he say tefach? Because this teaches us another thing, that the yoke, is the size of a yoke is a tefach, and the difference is known when you sell a yoke, it has to be a tefach. If not, it's a mistake. Rabbi Yochanan ben Shaul said, why does the Torah say bring the egla to a stream? So Hashem said, let something that didn't have any fruit, and let it be cut, the neck cut off in a place that doesn't make any fruits, because it's a hard land, a stream in a hard land, and let it atone for someone that because he died, he wasn't allowed to be able to have fruits, to have any children. What kind of fruits are we talking about? Children. What happens if it was an older person that was found that couldn't have children anyways? We're talking about fruits. He couldn't do mitzvahs. When he's killed younger than before his time, he couldn't do mitzvahs. Then it says that we measure it till the stream of Esan. Esan means heart. And the rabbis learned that Esan means hard, but Esan also means old. That it's old. And then it says that we cut it with the cleaver from the back. Why? Because it's similar to a bird that's brought as a sin offering. They cut it from the back of the neck. And the place where it was cut, you're not allowed to plant there. You're not allowed to do any type of work there. So the rabbis learned that that nothing was ever done there. That's what Rabbi Yeshua said. Rabbi Yeshua says it means the future. You're not allowed to do any work there, any planting there. So Rava says like this, everyone agrees, because the Torah says clearly that in the future you're not allowed to do any planting or working in the place where this event happened, where the goat was killed. But the argument is, if you have to find a place that no work was done before, and that's the argument that we have over here. Now, but you're allowed to comb flax and cut stones. So the rabbis learned, it says that's not allowed to do any work there, you're not allowed to plant there. So we know you're not allowed to plant, but how do you know you're not allowed to do any other type of work there? So it says, but you're not allowed to do any work. So if so, why does it have to say planting? Let it say you're not allowed to do any work there. You're not allowed to, you have to leave it empty. So to teach us that just like planting is happening with the ground, so the type of work that's forbidden is the work that's happening with the ground. But if you comb flax or linen, and if you cut stones where it's not happening in the ground, just on top of the ground, that's permitted. I wanted to say Ashlayavad is a general thing that no work will be done there. Leizereh means planting. So usually when you have a general in the detail, you only do what's in the details. So planting, you're not allowed to do the planting, but everything else you're allowed to do. But because it says Asher, the word Asher means that it includes even more, and that is everything. The people, the elders, wash their hands. And it says that all the elders of the city that's closest to where this fellow was found dead have to wash their hands on the Egla Rufa by the stream. So what does it mean by the Egla Rufa? Meaning the place exactly where the neck was cut off, that's where they have to wash their hands. And they have to say, we did not spill this blood, and we did not see him. So did we think that Bezdin spilled the blood? Did we think that they're murderers? But it means that we did not see him and let him go without any food. We didn't see him and let him go without escorting him out of the city, because that's what Jews do. You have to feed and you have to escort him out of the city. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the mitzvah of escorting people, what it means. So Meir said that you force someone to escort someone away from their home or from the city, because escorting someone when they come as a guest to you or they pass by you has no limit. It's a mitzvah every step you take. And we find that it's brought down in the Nevi'im by Beis Kale, that it says that the guards saw someone came out from the city and they said, where's the entrance to the city, and we'll do for you kindness. And he showed them the entrance to the city. And what did they do for him? So the whole city, they killed. The Jewish people killed everyone in the city. But that person's family, they saved. And now we read a little bit more into that verse. So the man went to Chittim and he built a city called Luz. Until today, it's called Luz, and we find that city had special merits. First of all, that's the city where they dye the blue color for the tzitzis, and that's the city that Sacherev tried to come and destroy, and he didn't, and mix up the populations, and he didn't. That's what the city Nebuchadnezzar tried to come and destroy, and he didn't. Even the angel of death cannot come through that city. But when a person in that city is time to die, he goes outside the walls of the city and he dies. So imagine. Here is a person, this Canaanite, wasn't even a Jew, that didn't speak to them when they asked him where's the entrance to the city. He didn't even go and take them there. But by pointing to where it is, he created a salvation for him and his children for many generations. So obviously someone who escorts someone with his feet, how much more so, how much the reward that he will get. What did he show to them? How did he show them where this entrance was? So some say he made with his mouth, some say he showed them with the finger. And this is what caused him to get rewarded tremendously. Rav Shua the son of Levi says, someone who goes and he has no one to escort him should read the words of Torah, and that the words of Torah escort him. Then Rav Shua ben Levi says, because Paroi escorted Avram Avinu when he sent him away from Egypt, 4 steps, this caused that the Jewish people were enslaved to Paroi for 400 years, 100 years for every step that he took. So imagine the reward even for a sinful person. Rabbi Yehuda said, name of Rav, whoever escorts his friend 4 amas, 6 feet in the city, will never get hurt in that city. Ravina escorted Rava Bar Yitzchak 4 amas, 6 feet in the city. He came into a place of danger and he was saved because he escorted him. The rabbis learned that if a teacher has to escort a student until the end of the city, a friend, a colleague, a study colleague, has to go to another colleague until Tchum Shabbos outside the city, 2,000 feet, Amos outside the city. And a student, a teacher, there's no limit. You escort him as much as you can. So how much? So Sheshet says till a parsa. Parsa is 4 meal. A parsa is a 4 meal, which is a meal is about 2,000 feet. But here we're talking about a teacher that's not your full-time teacher, but your full-time teacher. It's 3 parses, which is 12 meal, which is the size of the length of the Jewish camp when they were in the desert. Rav Kana escorted Rav Simi, the son of Ashi, from Nara till Beit Sinisa, the Bava. When he came there, he says, so they said, this place in Bavel, this is from, they saw trees. It's Beit Sinisa means it was a city full of palm trees. So these trees, he says, must be from the time of Adam, because that's the place where Adam came from. Somebody say, he told them, you remind me, something that Rabbi Yosef Chanina said. Why does it say that in a land that no one passed by and no one settled there? So obviously, if no one passed by, no one settled. So from here we learn that Adam decreed which parts of the world will be settled and which parts of the world will not be settled. And those are the parts of the world that will not be settled, can never fully be settled. Even if we try, it won't work 100%. Ramardchai escorted Vashi from Agrenia to Bekipi, and he said, whoever does not escort someone outside of his place, it's like you spill blood, because sometimes there's danger lurking as well. And we find that the same thing, the idea we find by Elisha. That when Elisha left Yericho, when he cured the waters and he left Yericho, so the people of Yericho did not escort him outside the city. And because they didn't escort him outside the city, he ended up inciting beers to the youth. Why? Because he left the city and all of the young people were there and they started to say bad things to him. And they said, leave Kerach, you're baldy, leave. Why? Because the water was bad, these young people used to bring water and sell it to the people and rip them off. So when he healed the water, all of a sudden they lost their jobs. So they were all ganging up on him. So he incited the beers to go and take care of them. So how do we know these are young people? Because the Gemara goes on, how do we know the young people? Maybe, so first of all, he says, why does he call them Na'arim Uktanim, two lads and young people? So Na'arim means that they were naked of mitzvahs. Uktanim means that they had no faith. Or some say they were lads, but they behaved like little children. So Rabbi Yosef says, maybe Na'arim Uktanim is also the name of a place. I don't know it's the name of people. So he answers, because here, we know that because here, it tells us where they came from, Yericho. So it says Na'arim Uktanim, it means this specific place. So he says he saw. What did Elisha see? He looked at them. Like Hashem ben Gamliel says, that whenever the Chacham give their eyes on someone, it either causes them to die or to get poor, and they were bothering him, and this is what happened. Shmuel says he saw that where they came from, that all their mothers became pregnant Yom Kippur, now that have relations on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Yitzchak says that he saw that they were dressing like the non-Jews around them. Rabbi Yochanan said he saw that they had no enjoyment or excitement of doing mitzvahs, and he looked, maybe their children had, but so even their children don't have. So therefore he incited the beers against them and realized that there's no future for them, and therefore he incited them. So this finishes the study of today.